What is real? This question has challenged thinkers for millennia, none more famously than Plato. Through the vivid imagery of prisoners, shadows, and the blinding light of the sun, Plato built a framework that is as relevant today as it was in ancient Athens. Plato's philosophy is a symphony of interconnected ideas, woven together in triadic structures that illuminate the path to truth. Central to his thought are three profound frameworks: the allegory of the cave, the divided line, and the theory of forms. Each is a triad in itself, built upon interdependent elements that reveal the layers of reality, knowledge, and enlightenment. Together, they form a larger triadic relationship, where each concept supports and enriches the others in a harmonious interplay of metaphysics, epistemology, and moral philosophy. The allegory of the cave captures the human struggle to transcend ignorance, using the imagery of prisoners, shadows, and light to symbolize the soul's ascent from illusion to truth. The divided line offers a structural roadmap for this ascent, mapping the hierarchy of knowledge and existence from the sensible to the intelligible. The theory of forms anchors these journeys in a metaphysical reality, revealing the eternal archetypes that ground all particular things and give them meaning. These three ideas are not isolated philosophical exercises. They are interdependent expressions of a single vision, each one deepening and clarifying the others. The allegory of the cave inspires us to seek enlightenment. The divided line guides us along the stages of understanding, and the theory of forms reveals the ultimate destination of that pursuit. This triad of triads challenges us to reflect on the nature of reality, the process of learning, and the moral imperative of truth-seeking. It is an invitation to embrace the interwoven complexity of Plato's thought, and in doing so, to ascend toward wisdom and justice. What if everything you knew was a lie, mere shadows of a deeper truth? Plato's allegory of the cave invites us into a world of illusions where prisoners mistake fleeting images for reality. This journey from darkness to light is more than a dramatic tale. It is a timeless exploration of the human condition, challenging us to seek wisdom beyond appearances. But what does it take to escape the cave and behold the light of truth? Plato's allegory of the cave offers a vivid metaphor for the journey from ignorance to enlightenment. Prisoners are chained in a dark cave, able to see only shadows cast on a wall. These shadows, produced by unseen objects illuminated by a fire, constitute their entire reality. However, when one prisoner is freed and ascends toward the light, they initially experience confusion and pain, their eyes unaccustomed to brightness. Gradually, the freed prisoner comes to understand the true nature of the objects casting the shadows, and eventually beholds the sun, representing the ultimate source of truth and reality, the form of the good. Plato writes that the prisoners would, in every way, believe that the shadows were the whole truth. This underscores the depth of their ignorance, confined by their limited perception. Their ascent toward the light, described as an upward journey of the soul, represents a struggle to grasp higher truths beyond immediate appearances. Each stage of this ascent builds upon the previous one, from shadows, illusion, to objects, understanding, to the sun, ultimate reality. This progression illustrates the idea that knowledge is not an instantaneous realization, but a transformative process requiring effort and guidance. The allegory provides a foundation for understanding Plato's epistemology and ontology. It suggests that enlightenment is both a personal and communal duty. Once the freed individual comprehends the light of truth, they are compelled to return to the cave to help others ascend. The lesson is clear. The pursuit of truth demands courage and perseverance, and those who achieve clarity bear a responsibility to lead others out of ignorance. What if reality could be mapped? Plato's divided line offers a philosophical blueprint, guiding us through the layers of existence and knowledge. From shadows and reflections to the dazzling clarity of eternal forms, this framework bridges the gap between the seen and the unseen. Yet, climbing this hierarchy demands more than observation. It calls for reason, courage, and an openness to transcend the familiar. How does this structure illuminate our journey toward enlightenment? The divided line, introduced in the Republic, provides a structured framework to understand the progression described in the Allegory of the Cave. Plato divides reality and knowledge into 4 levels, represented as segments of a line. The lower 2 segments belong to the sensible realm. At the bottom are shadows and reflections, illusions, while the next level includes physical objects themselves, beliefs. Above these lies the intelligible realm, where the 3rd level represents mathematical reasoning, thought, and the highest level consists of the forms, understanding, culminating in the ultimate form of the good. The visible realm should be likened to the prison dwelling, Plato writes, comparing the ascent up the divided line to the journey out of the cave. This relationship reinforces the idea that understanding higher truths requires moving beyond the visible and tangible toward abstract and eternal principles. Each segment of the line builds on the last illusions, rely on objects to cast shadows. Objects inspire abstract reasoning, and reasoning leads to comprehension of the forms. The form of the good, as the author of Knowledge to All Things Known, illuminates the entire structure, just as the sun reveals and nourishes the physical world in the Allegory of the Cave. The divided line highlights the layered nature of knowledge and reality. It teaches us that truth is a continuum, with each stage offering an indispensable step toward enlightenment. This encourages intellectual humility. While the visible world may captivate us, we must strive to ascend towards the intelligible, recognizing the limitations of sense perception and the necessity of reason. What lies behind the fleeting forms of the world around us? Plato's theory of forms reveals a realm of perfect archetypes, eternal and unchanging, that give meaning to the ever-shifting objects of our senses. From the perfect triangle to the essence of justice, these forms ground reality in a higher truth. But how do they shape our understanding of the physical world? And what do they reveal about our ultimate purpose? The theory of forms lies at the heart of Plato's metaphysical system, grounding both the Allegory of the Cave and the divided line. Forms are eternal, unchanging archetypes that exist in the intelligible realm. They are the ultimate reality, of which the physical world is a mere shadow. For instance, while many individual triangles exist, the form of a triangle represents their perfect essence. This relationship is mediated by the principle of participation. Particular objects partake in their corresponding forms, deriving their identity and nature from these higher realities. We customarily hypothesize a single form in connection with each set of things, Plato writes in Phaedo, illustrating how forms unify the multiplicity of the physical world. Without forms, particulars would lack coherence, becoming a chaotic collection of unconnected phenomena. Conversely, the forms would remain abstract and inert without their manifestations in the sensible realm. Participation bridges this divide, making the imperfect world a reflection of the eternal and intelligible. The theory of forms provides the ontological foundation for the progression outlined in the cave and the divided line. The forms are the objects of true understanding, toward which the ascent of the soul is directed. The form of the good in particular illuminates all other forms, enabling knowledge and being. This triadic relationship teaches us that while the physical world is flawed and transient, it points towards a greater reality. Recognizing this invites us to look beyond appearances, aspiring to ideals that transcend the material. Can truth be pursued without understanding its interconnected nature? The Allegory of the Cave, the divided line, and the theory of forms form a triad of profound insights, each dependent on the others. Together they weave a story of ignorance, ascension, and ultimate clarity, offering a vision of knowledge that is both intellectual and moral. What does this unified framework teach us about learning, leading, and living with wisdom? The cave, the divided line, and the theory of forms together offer a comprehensive model of human knowledge, existence, and enlightenment. The cave represents the condition of ignorance, where individuals mistake shadows for reality. The divided line expands on this, showing the progression of understanding through levels of reality and knowledge culminating in the forms. The theory of forms provides the metaphysical grounding for this framework, explaining why higher truths are immutable and universal. Interdependence defines these concepts. Without the forms, there would be no ultimate truth to pursue. Without the divided line, the ascent would lack structure. Without the cave, there would be no metaphor to inspire and motivate the journey. Together, they remind us that truth-seeking is not merely intellectual but also moral. It demands effort, courage, and a commitment to help others rise. These triads apply to education, leadership, and personal growth, teaching us to question appearances, seek deeper understanding, and recognize the interconnectedness of all stages of learning. Plato's vision, therefore, remains a timeless guide for the pursuit of wisdom and justice. This triadic vision of Platonic reality, illuminated by the allegory of the cave, the divided line, and the theory of forms, is not merely an intellectual exercise. It is a call to action. Plato does not leave us as passive observers of philosophical truths. He demands that we act. We are the prisoners, and the shadows on the wall are the illusions we accept in our daily lives, superficial appearances, unexamined assumptions, and fleeting distractions. To remain in the cave is to squander the potential for enlightenment. To ascend is to embrace the difficult journey toward truth, a journey that requires discipline, critical reasoning, and an unwavering desire for the good. Yet the journey does not end with individual enlightenment. Plato's vision compels us to return to the cave, to bear the weight of guiding others toward the light. This is not an easy task. The freed prisoner risks rejection and hostility from those who cling to shadows. But this is the moral dimension of Plato's philosophy. True wisdom cannot exist in isolation. It demands action, compassion, and courage. So let us ask ourselves, where are we chained, and what shadows are we mistaking for reality? What higher truths lie beyond the illusions that bind us? And perhaps most importantly, once we begin to see the light, how will we use it to uplift others? The challenge Plato offers is eternal and universal. Strive for the forms, aspire to the good, and never cease in the pursuit of truth and justice. To ignore this call is to accept a life of shadows. To embrace it is to fulfill the highest potential of what it means to be human.